Mario Cristobal has tabbed Anthony Brown, the starting quarterback for the Oregon Ducks, heading into week 1 of the regular season against Fresno State. Wanted to hop on here and just kind of get some rapid reactions and some thoughts here, bringing in Ducks Digest reporter Dylan Rubenking. Dylan, kind of just let's get some rapid reactions. What do you think on the surface here when you hear this?
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised it took this long to name him. I was under the assumption he was going to be the guy all along. I think deep down, a lot of Ducks fans did too. He was getting all the first team reps in spring, most of them in fall, started the scrimmages and the spring game and all that stuff. So I feel like everybody kind of knew this was going to be the announcement. We were just kind of waiting for it to officially happen. And now the debate's really just who's number 2 behind him. But I think this is probably the best choice, to be honest. I think he's clearly the most experienced guy, and he's the only guy who saw regular season time last year for Oregon.
I agree with you in terms of it makes the most sense, right? It might not be the one that has the flash behind it, the intrigue, the excitement. I mean, there's definitely something to be excited about there with what Brown brings to the table. I think when I saw him play last year in limited action, he had the play that I think about the most is his big 4th down conversion pass to DJ Johnson against USC in the Pac-12 title game. I mean, if they don't get that touchdown, who knows if they stay hot and go on to win that one, with how big offense needs to be when you're on the bright stage under the bright lights, going for the Pac-12 title. And then when I flew down to Arizona to see him in the Fiesta Bowl, I thought he looked really good aside from the fumble that he had that proved to be pretty costly. But the offense was just horrendous that game for the most part. I mean, you got to think about he had some running touchdowns, some rushing touchdowns, I should say, which was a big highlight. But the one touchdown through the air that I think they had to Micah Pittman ultimately got called back. I think Stephen Jones was holding, so it wasn't really going their way. But I say that and bring up the Fiesta Bowl to say that he was looking confident. Brown was looking confident. I thought that the offense was operating really well. Who even knows what was going on at quarterback that game? I mean, it was like a revolving door, I feel like. Tyler Shuck and Anthony Brown were kind of coming in and out. But to your point, Dylan, I was kind of rambling there a little bit. To your point, talking about, I think it was surprising that it took this long for the starter to be named. I think that's a really good point. It looked like Anthony Brown was the number 1 heading into spring football, and then as well as in fall camp. But then it got a little weird when we had the first scrimmage of fall camp, and Mario said that Ty Thompson was the best of all the quarterbacks, or played the best, I should say. That's what he said, played the best of all the quarterbacks coming out of the scrimmage, when you want to hear, oh yeah, Anthony was making plays. He's, just continuing to hold down the spot.
Yeah, I think for the most part through spring, a lot of people were saying, yeah, AB's the guy. Yeah, he's earned it. Even the other quarterbacks were saying that. And then in the fall, you kind of saw this, like you said, this kind of turn where it was like, oh, everybody else is kind of performing really well. It's tight. We're close, all that kind of stuff. That language kind of changed a little bit. So maybe it wasn't super clear cut from the jump that AB was going to be the starter heading into fall camp. But like you said, like when he came on the field against USC, I was at that game. And you kind of saw him starting to warm up on the sidelines, and you kind of felt a little bit of a buzz. At least I did, being in the stands. I kind of felt a little bit of a buzz with the offense when he was out there, because on the first snap, he threw a touchdown to Jalen Redd, and everybody kind of seemed to rally around him. So I felt when Tyler Shuck was the quarterback those last couple of weeks against Oregon State and Cal, obviously the offense was really stagnant and the play calling was kind of stale a little bit, and they just were a little bit limited. And I think AB opens up the playbook quite a bit, more so than when they had Tyler Shuck.
We got some highlights from AB at Boston College here. One highlight that I think just stands out to me, and here we go again with the deep ball. I think that maybe is an aspect of his game that he's not getting enough credit for per se. Those are good balls, but I feel like that the arm doesn't look like terribly lively, I guess. I mean, I don't want to critique the guy too much because he hasn't played a game as the starter yet, so there's still a lot to be seen as far as that goes. But I think that that's one of the biggest things that he's going to have to do this year is to show that he was really worthy of that QB1 spot, is step up in the pocket and take risks and drive the ball down the field. But ultimately with him being named the guy here heading into week 1, it's confirming more of what we already knew. Let me see what else we have. And then I guess the question that kind of comes from there is, do you ultimately think that he's going to be the guy all season?
I think for the most part, I think so. With their schedule, I feel like they kind of need someone who has that experience going up against teams like Utah, UW, UCLA, especially Ohio State in week 2. But like you were talking about with the deep ball, I definitely think there was a lot of critiques about that, and that's definitely going to be something to watch for because they have a ton of deep threats at running back, receiver, and tight end. They have a bunch of guys who can go deep and run routes and kind of be burners, but AB, I think he has the arm power. It's just the accuracy has always been what a lot of people were talking about. But coming from Boston College, they had AJ Dillon, they had this power run game. They weren't really known as a team that's going to really throw it around. So I feel like he doesn't have a whole lot of film of him really slinging it around. And I think at Oregon, you're probably going to see that. Hopefully, it's a really nice balance between the run game and the pass game. But I think if anybody's going to take his spot, it's going to be Ty Thompson, based on what we've seen this fall, especially. But I think it's his job for the time being. I think he'd really have to lose this. I don't think it'd be anything where they just put Ty Thompson in or Jay Butterfield or Robbie Ashford in just to kind of mess around. I don't know if they'd really do that, especially this year. Maybe in like a Stony Brook game or an Arizona game where it's kind of a blowout. But I don't feel like it's Anthony Brown's going to be taken out too terribly much. I feel like he's going to be the guy.
If the Ducks can get to the offensive clip that they want to be at and ultimately should be at with this talent, then I think we should be seeing some of those situations. Not that we don't want to see Brown, but you need to get these guys reps, especially when you think just kind of going into next year. And this transitions into my next point a little bit that I wanted to talk about is the importance of continuity. If you're looking into 2022, let's say Ty Thompson is the guy, whoever ends up being the guy, if it's not Brown, you don't want his first college snaps to come next season. So hopefully the Ducks can take care of business and get the whoever, maybe ends up being the starter next year, some valuable snaps. For those that don't know, we have that 4-game redshirt rule, so you can play 4 games. And then if you end up going over that, unless that rule has changed, I don't believe it has. As long as you play 4 games or fewer, you retain that redshirt year. But talking about continuity, I think this is something that's been an interesting topic with regard to the quarterback room here in Eugene. You had Marcus Mariota, who was a mainstay for a long time. And then Vernon Adams came in and they really struck gold in the grad transfer market there. And then we had Dakota Prukop come in from Montana State. And that was a disaster, to put it lightly. And then you had Justin Herbert get thrown into the fire because Prukop just wasn't the guy. I believe his first game was against Washington, right? With that just absolute, stomping. We don't need to talk any more about that than that. And then he got hurt. I believe it was against Cal when he was doing some running plays, broke his collarbone, I believe. And Braxton Burmeister came in. There was no depth to be found. The Ducks were not recruiting quarterback particularly well. I remember Willie Taggart came in late and then, got Burmeister and people were pretty excited, but ultimately he didn't pan out. And then, after Herbert left, you have Shuck, who comes in with all these expectations after having so much time to learn under Herbert, but that transition could not have come in a weirder time. And then now you have Brown, who, just optically and kind of how we're looking at the quarterback position, he kind of seems like a 1-year rental, right? He's only going to have one full season here in Eugene. So I think continuity is something that certainly factors in here when you're just looking at the health of the program, how recruiting is taking hold, and kind of looking at it in that light.
Yeah, I feel like, with Mariota, a lot of people forget that he actually was a redshirt in the 2011 year when they went to the Rose Bowl. And then he started after that. So he wasn't necessarily a true freshman, but he was, he hadn't gotten any playing time before starting that week 1 in 2012 against Arkansas State. And then the rest is history, obviously. And Herbert was kind of the same way, not so much the week 1 thing. He had a little bit more time, but really he hadn't seen any time on the field before that, aside from practice. So I feel like with the guys that Oregon has with Ty Thompson and Butterfield and Ashford, I feel like any one of them, you could put them in, and I think they would be just fine. I think for the most part, I feel like it would be Butterfield or Ashford just because they've been in the system a little bit longer. I think Thompson is the better quarterback talent-wise and size-wise and, just kind of the intangibles. But I do think, they would all be good enough to be in there. But I think Anthony Brown, like I said, he should be the guy. He looks to be the guy. Everybody kind of rallies around him and everybody talks so highly of him, including the coaching staff. So I'm excited to see him be QB1 in Eugene. I think this will probably be his only year. I think this is actually the last year of his eligibility because obviously he had a couple injuries and then the COVID year. So I'm pretty sure this is his last year of eligibility.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure it is as well. To just kind of play the hypothetical game here, I liked what you said about the team rallying around him. All the staff had a lot of good things to say about him. It'd just be a really weird kind of deal if we heard all of that and then it's like, hey, we're gonna bring in a freshman, we're gonna throw Butterfield out there, he's gonna be the man, or Ashford or Thompson. As entertaining as that might be, it just doesn't seem like it would make sense. It would potentially hurt his quarterback. And then what happens if you have one of the freshmen, coming in as QB1 and then they get hurt? And then it's like, hey, Brown, we need you to come out there. It's like, well, where was your confidence in me when I had a good shot at it, that kind of deal. So I think just with that would have been a pretty weird dynamic if we saw that play out.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, Anthony Brown, they pretty much gave him the keys right from the spring camp. I mean, I remember Mario Cristobal saying, he's starting with the runs, he's getting every rep with the ones. So really, with that being said, I feel like any other direction they would have gone would have been a disaster in terms of chemistry with AB, right? Like you said, where's that faith, where's that confidence in me? So yeah, I feel like if they would have went any other direction, some Oregon fans probably would have been more excited, I think, because, there's some lack of confidence in Anthony Brown for some reason, but I think they should be fine given his experience, and he does have a lot of talent. I think he fits this Joe Moorhead offense better than Tyler Shuck did, especially because it's mostly fully installed and they have a regular spring camp, fall camp, all that stuff. I think AB should be ready to go, and so should Joe Moorhead.
Going to be exciting to see how he shakes out when we get to game 1 next week against Fresno State. Just got my credentials approved for that, so I'll be out there on the scene. Ducks Digest will have all the coverage for that. But any other wrapping thoughts you want to do here, Dylan, when we're just talking about this announcement of Anthony Brown being QB1?
I just think like I said, I think it opens up some of the offensive stuff. I think you're going to see more mobile stuff from Anthony Brown, which Oregon fans haven't really seen for a little bit. Herbert was kind of limited with that up until he ran amok in the last couple of games of his senior year. But yeah, I'm really excited for the possibilities for this offense. And I think Oregon will have the best chance to win with Anthony Brown on the field as the starter.
Yeah, I agree with all those points. It's going to be fun to see them open up the playbook a little bit more and really hopefully see some of what Joe Moorhead brings to the table and what had people so excited when he got hired, and ultimately what had people excited when Anthony Brown decided that he was going to transfer to the U of O. So big news coming out of Eugene. Going to have our eyes on that quarterback position. I'm sure everybody will when the Ducks open the season against Fresno State next weekend.